Hey, there we are. Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Massive Iron Live, whatever it is, right? It's Friday, and I appreciate you guys joining me. I'm a little fuzzy today. I've been moving a house for about 2 weeks, so the beard is just growing relentlessly. So we got 3 dogs in here today. The door is closed. The door is going to be opening at any given second, and the dogs are going to be running out of here. How are we looking? We just center this. No, that's the wrong way. That's maybe center it a little bit better. No. We'll make a little bit adjustments. How you guys doing? Those of you guys that are new here, I do live every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. I appreciate you guys joining me. If you're new here, don't hesitate to post up questions. Post up questions on anything, diet, training, nutrition, even off topic. It's Friday. We can BS about anything. So I'm really not picky. Don't feel. Thank you.
They're escaped.
Okay.
You can leave there.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Fly.
Thank you.
Come on, boys.
Sorry about that. If you're new here, don't hesitate to post up questions about anything that, even if you feel it's been asked 1,000 times before. So before we get started, a few logistical things. If your question isn't posting, it's not me censoring you. It is YouTube. So don't feel like I am censoring you. If your question's not posting, try to rephrase it or shorten it. Sometimes if the question is too long, YouTube won't post. You can sometimes YouTube will just kind of throttle or limit certain words. So maybe rephrase something. But at the end of the day, if you're unable to post, no, it's not me. You can head over to Instagram, App and the Barman, slide into my DM and send me a message, and I would be glad to answer your questions. I answer every question posted on the Instagram. Now, before we get rolling, just a reminder, if you post a question each week before live starts, you get a chance to win a free t-shirt, hoodie, whey, massive iron whey, or massive iron creatine. And basically, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. I'm going to pick somebody that posted before 11. And occasionally, if I just get a good question, I'll give away something as well. So that's it. How's the week going, guys? How was the week? How's training? I might try to get a run done. We've been selling our house. This is obviously a new location. This is a townhouse, kind of an in-between place for us. We're actually building a house, and that'll be done like November, December. I'm going to have a custom gym in the basement. Sounds fancy, right? But it's just going to be a basement gym. It's just going to be, but I get a chance to build it from the ground up, and I'm going to do it right. I'm going to have a filming studio down there so I can have better lighting for these things. And, I've been doing this for 12 years. I've earned a little bit of upgrades, and I want to make things as professional, deliver the information as professionally as possible. So look for those upgrades at the end of the year. All right, before we get into things, please follow me on Instagram at Ben the Barman. And if you need a good workout, you need coaching, you need anything, I sell whey protein, I sell creatine. I'm not trying to be a supplement company, but I have quality products that taste good. And if you want to support the little guys instead of supporting the big guys, check out the subs tab and check out my workouts tab, check out my coaching tab, and by all means, check out Team Massive, teammassiveiron.com, teammassiveiron.com. We got it's a website, but it's a community. It's like if you took Facebook groups and made it like 100 times better. We have different sub forums. We have chat areas. We have topics of the day, and it's just growing every week. So it's arguably one of the best lifting groups on the internet, and I'm proud to say that we have a really good group of folks. And we don't get into politics. We don't get into religion. We don't get into drama. We don't get into trolling. Just good lifting conversations, a good escape, a good place to touch base daily, and a lot of motivation. All right, blah, 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 blah. Let's get into questions, shall we? Let's get into questions. My dog's still here. Nope, he left me. My dog left me. All right. Let's get into some questions. Dungeons and Donuts. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining in from Team Massive. What are your thoughts on Alpha Destiny's vociferous defense of a diet very low in animal products? I want to toss out Alpha Destiny, but the whole idea that animal products are bad for you as far as health is silliness. I'm just going to say it. I mean, it's just silliness. Animal protein and animal products have some of the most nutrient dense, there's some of the most nutrient dense foods we can eat. The best combination, in my opinion, is animal and plant-based foods. And there's no ill health. I don't know what Alpha Destiny says, so I want to set that aside. I just want to look at the actual concept here. But there's no science that supports animal products or plant products as being superior. There's a lot of propaganda, but the science does not support it at all. That's a ridiculous claim. All right. So last week I asked about how to schedule. I can only train every 4 days, and I'll train twice on those days. Okay. With a few hours of rest food between workouts. Okay. I see what you're doing. How much gains? You guys can't think like that. Like if you train hard, there's no gains left on the table, right? You're training every 4 days. You're training basically 8 workouts in 4 days. There's no gains left on the table. The people leaving gains on the table are the people that aren't training hard, that aren't consistent, that aren't worried about nutrition. You have to look at it like this. Look at lifting as a 5 to 10 year block, right? It's 5 to 10 year journey. You are always going to have different seasons. That's life. No one can have a consistent 10-year period of life unless they live the most absolutely boring life ever. Well, it might be exciting for them. I don't want to be a hater, but they have the same job. They do the same thing. They eat the same thing. They go to the same places. They never have any excitement or variety. But that's life. You're going to have different seasons, right? So we have to set aside the idea of optimal here. Like there's an optimal amount of time. We have to train each week in an optimal frequency. Optimal really over 5 to 10 years is consistency. It is nailing your nutrition. It is nailing your sets. It is nailing your progression. That is optimal, right? Don't get caught up in the minor things, thinking you're missing gains. That's rooted in some false sense of optimization. Optimization is, and I posted this on Instagram yesterday. It's a good exercise selection. It is consistency with nutrition. It is progressive overload. It's making every set count. Blah blah blah. You can see it on my Instagram. So I posted that up yesterday, and I'm just adding a note for myself. But that's what's important. All the other things, the passion's important. All the other things just aren't. You're chasing some degree of optimization. Don't just relax. Whatever you guys can do, you need to absolutely crush. And if you do that, if you make the most of every day in all the seasons that are going to take place over 5 to 10 years, you're going to be fine. You're going to get there. That's how it works. We have to look at the long journey, 5 to 10 years. If you crush every day, regardless of what life gives you, then you are going to get there. Does that make sense? And I'm going to give you a t-shirt, hoodie, whey, or creatine. Don't get frustrated, guys. I might give out some more. So hit me up on Instagram at benthebarman or email me benthebarman@gmail.com. Bert, big bad Bert, just got back into lifting. I don't know. I had a client named Bert. Maybe this is the client. Maybe this is the old client Bert. Just got back into lifting and using the rep goal system. What should I do when I'm increasing the weight weekly but still feel I have reps left? The rep goal system, you are pushing sets for maximum quality reps. So the only case where you're going to have reps left in the tank is, let's say you start with 30-pound dumbbell benches and you stop after 20 reps because it's just crazy light. Well, you just move up the next week, right? You just continue to follow the progression until you peak out, and every set is pushed for as many quality reps as possible. You're not going to plateau. Get the false idea out of your head that you're going to plateau. Things are going to slow over time. But if you're using a rep goal system, you don't have reps left in the tank. You're taking sets for quality, maximum, safe reps. Okay. So based on the progression indicator, you're going to move up in weight, and forget the idea of plateauing. It's a ghost in the room that doesn't exist, right? If you are doing everything properly, we don't plateau, right? We might slow on some lifts, but I've never seen somebody doing everything properly for 5 to 10 years that plateaus, right? It's a non-problem, right? Some lifts might slow, but if you're a force of nature over 5 to 10 years, you're going to end up strong on everything. Some lifts will be stronger than others naturally, but there's not going to be any plateaus. So just toss that out. Big John Darko, what would you advise if I can only work out on Friday, Saturday, and Monday? So we have a rest day after Saturday. I probably wouldn't do a full body. You could do an upper posterior. You could do A-B split variations. You could do upper posterior where you have 4 workouts and you rotate, but on those 3 days. You could do upper posterior variations like torso limbs, stuff like that. So if you did upper posterior, you could do, let's say you start on Friday, you could do upper A, posterior A on Saturday, rest, upper B on Monday, then come back on Friday and do posterior B. So you just continue to cycle through. You could do the same thing with any 4-day cycle that I put together. You can check out the workouts tab at superlivingtoday.com. Torso limbs. If you want to discuss this further, just DM me on Instagram, but any of those would work fine. One thing you could do as well is you could have Saturday as a legs and back day. And you could have Friday and Monday as upper days, chest, shoulder, and arms. You could do something like that, maybe move biceps to Saturday, or Saturday could be legs and arms. Saturday would work well with, if you just want to do legs once a week, you could do Saturday legs and arms. And then Friday and Monday, you could do chest, shoulder, and back. That would work well as well. So that's an option. Many options. Full body, I would probably say, would be the least fun option. You don't want to do back-to-back full bodies. You could do that, but you would have to do more of a compound focus on Friday and Monday. And Saturday would probably have to be more of a machine, body weight, isolation cable, a little bit lighter of an impact day, if that makes sense. Big Donald Biden, Joe's son, bulking at the moment on mostly satiating, filling foods. And while on target with weight gain, I still feel hungry. There's going to have to be a degree of sit-fu. Sit-fu is suck it the bleep up. So here's what I mean. I'm not trying to be crude. But when you are on a bulk, you have a weight goal. You have a weight trajectory that you're trying to stick with. If you're hungry and you eat more, you're going to end up fat bulking, right? Or you're going to increase the likelihood that you're going to fat bulk. So hunger, you know what? It happens. But if the scale is moving as we need it to move, we need to serve the scale. That's our master, right? Not hunger. Our goal is the master that we serve and not hunger. So that's just the way it's got to be. Now, if you should be gaining, like if you're gaining at a little bit low end of the scale, like 2 pounds a month, you could go a little bit higher to 2.5 or even 3. If you're somebody that tends to be a little bit more hungry, you could probably add 100, 150 calories as long as you didn't push more than 3 pounds a month. The only penance you're going to pay for that is that you'll end up having to cut more frequently. So it's a hard decision you're going to have to make. But at the end of the day, you want your specific bulking goal to be your master. That is what rules you, not hunger. Does that make sense? Big Adam F coming with the Johnny Cash. 1/2 in the past while focusing. Oh, 1 of 2. Sorry, 1 of 2. We're a little slow. This in the past when focusing more on powerlifting, my strength gains were slow. Since switching to upper posterior, I've noticed I'm handling heavier weights. And my estimated 1 rep max of Scott, what gives? Well, you're probably doing a bunch of crappy low rep work. That's not really how you build strength, right? What you doing, buddy boy? Come on. You build strength by building a base. And that's, people think powerlifting is doing low reps every week. It's not how powerlifting works. Once you reach more advanced stages, you're doing more low rep work because you have a big muscle base. But you need a muscle base or else you're not going to have a strength base. So off-season training or normal training in powerlifting is going to be how I train, the power building style. And it's not everybody's going to use my philosophies, but my philosophies are an example of how to train off-season. It's power building, it's muscle building, it's strength building, it's everything. Reese, is it normal to sleep worse during summer? Everybody's different, Reese, so it's not abnormal. I guess it depends on, do you have that AC blasting? You have back in the old school days, in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid, way back when we walked 10 miles to school in the snow right uphill, we didn't have air conditioning. So, we would sit there with a fan in the window, just sweating our balls off or whatever you got, right? So I don't know if sleep was worse. I ended up sleeping, half the day away. But I don't know. Everybody's different. Don't worry about how it impacts gains. If you train hard, focus on what you can control. Maximize. There's too much paranoia about killing gains in this industry, and it's stealing your guys' time. And that's the biggest crime. Don't worry. If you guys crush the things you can control, you're always going to be fine. So just, that's one of the big things I preach on this channel. One of the big messages I try to get across. If you guys crush the things you can control, you're going to be absolutely fine. Where do we go? I lost the question. There we go. Big Tim from Team Massive. When starting a bulk, how much of a surplus do you experiment with? Well, when someone moves from a cut to a bulk, or when I get a new client and we're trying to figure out where their calories are, what I suggest, and this is not the only way to do things, but this is just what I suggest, is that we kind of guess where maintenance is, okay? We can either do that or we can eat normal, whatever our normal is at the time, for 5 days. So either guess what your maintenance is or eat normal for 5 days. Track everything. No excuses, MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, whatever app you're using. Weigh in every morning, first thing in the morning after you get up, urinate, step on the scale and weigh in. And then we'll kind of see what the scale is doing and we'll kind of make adjustments. Now, the first time you do this process, it might be a little bit on the tedious side, right? But once you have spent some time bulking, then you'll have some information, what you can immediately return to next time you bulk. If that makes sense. Reese, in response to your last video, an advanced lifter might only gain, so main gaining, an advanced lifter might only gain 1 pound of muscle a year. So main gaining 1.2 pounds over 12 months would just be stupid. Well, someone tried to comment yesterday on the video about advanced lifters. Number one, advanced lifters are rare, guys that are close to natural potential. So somebody that's close to natural potential, they're still going to gain benefit from bulking. They just have to understand the game they're playing. So they don't really want to do aggressive bulking. But if I knew then what I know now, and let's say you get to like 90%, theoretically, you get to 85 to 90% of your natural potential. Most guys will never get there. That's reality. Not trying to be negative. But once you're there and say you have 5, 8, whatever pounds of muscle to gain naturally, I would still bulk, because we're in it to win it, right? I would probably do a 6-month bulk of like 10 pounds. What's the downside? You get to eat in a calorie surplus for 6 months. What's the downside? What's the upside? You might build muscle optimally. It might only be 2 ounces. Who cares? Do a quick 10-pound cut. A 10-pound cut is not a Herculean task. It's not the impossible task given from Crom to Conan. It's just a 10-pound cut, So that's what I would probably do. Bulk 5, 6 months, gain 10 pounds, lose 10 pounds. You could repeat that twice. I mean, doing a couple cuts over the course of a year, of a month, for 10 pounds is not rough, right? Anybody should be able to handle that. If somebody can't, I've said this before and I'll repeat it. If somebody can't handle a 10-pound mini cut, they have no business bulking, none at all. If you can't handle a cut of 10 pounds, you have no business bulking, because if you bulk and you gain 12, 15, 20 pounds, you fat bulk by accident. A lot of people do that. And you suck at cutting, you just set yourself up for failure. You've just become a flubulard, right? And now you got to try to lose the weight. So that's my opinion. And I'm never going to say it's the only way. I think it's a reasonable way, and people can adjust it reasonably from there, based on what they think. Big Tim, tips on keeping heels on the foot pad for hack squats. If heels are coming up on leg presses or hack squats, well, there's a couple things going on. If you go so super deep, which is a good problem to have, then heels might rise a little bit, okay? If you're going so super deep, that's, again, a good problem to have, that your heels are lifting a little bit, maybe pull up the depth a little bit, right? Because you probably shouldn't be going so deep that your heels are rising. The other cause of that is going to be, here's your foot placement. Let me see if I can get this right on here. Your knees want to match your foot placement, or your foot angle. As they go down, your knees want to match that foot angle. If your knees are inside, and this is a common thing on squats, your heels are going to lift up and in when you descend. So those are the 2 causes of heel rising. So Tim, I don't know which case is you, but those are the 2 fixes. Was there a time in your life where your gains were stalled? Nope. I never really had bad sleep. I mean, I was in the military where I had weeks of inferior sleep, but I wasn't training as hard as I was now. And there were times when I had young kids or was working hard where my sleep wasn't optimal, but I never experienced a stall of gains. It certainly can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen. Sleep can really mess us up in different ways, and everybody's a little bit, there is some variability there. Not everybody's going to handle, sleep deprivation or whatever the same. So it's not unusual. But again, in life, all we can do is focus on what we can control. We can't just say, oh my God, I'm not sleeping. Like, you focus on what you can control. You make the most of the day, of the moment, of the sleep, of the workout. That's all you can do in life. You can't do anything other than that. So if bad sleep is an issue, you either fix your sleep habits or you just do the best you can in that season of life. What you doing, buddy boy? Come here. You want to come up and say hello? Come here. Where are you? Come here. Come here, buddy boy. Want to come say hello? Come on. Oh, come on up, buddy boy. There you go. You want to say hello? Thank you, buddy boy. Okay, I want to breathe now. All right, next, Big Bad Bubba. I can only work out twice a week in the coming year. Ignore the gains on the table thing, guys. Ignore it. Make the most of what you can. I will tell you this, Big Bad. If you gird up those big, juicy testicles and you just crush 2 days a week, and you crush your nutrition and you crush your sets, you're going to make more progress training twice a week than the average schmuck in the commercial gym just with dick around-itis, right? You're going to crush his results. So use that as a motivation, my friend. How to best strategize diet. I wouldn't probably do an aggressive bulk. I'll probably aim to gain, 10 pounds over 4 or 5 months and then do a mini cut. So I'd probably not go aggressive on the bulking, but I'll crush the training. And there's no program that's best. I put together a lot of 2-day programs over the years. I'm trying to think what I would do right now if I had to only train 2 days a week. I might put together 3 workouts just for some exercise variety, because you want a little bit of exercise variety in the mix. That's only beneficial when it comes to hypertrophy. So do I want to do full body workouts? I would probably do like an A-B split. But then you have to understand something is going to break when you train twice a week. You can't do frequency unless you do full body and live in the gym. So you probably have to do more of a combination. So I would do maybe torso, limbs, chest, shoulders, back one day, legs and arms the next. That's a really good way to approach things. And you're going to relieve some of the bloat with doing too many compounds in one workout. So I would maybe do something like that. If you guys need a custom workout, and I don't push this service, but it is available. It's only $49. I can knock you out a custom workout in no time at all. And it's on my website, Super Living Today. If you guys ever want one, I can knock it out in a half an hour. I don't charge much for it. I've been building workouts my whole life. I can do them in my sleep. I'm going to give you basically my systems and my philosophies slotted into a program based on your exercise preferences and equipment. Stein, happy Friday, Stein. James, just wanted to say thank you for everything you do. I appreciate that, James, and thank you guys for all the support. Without you guys, I would not be here. What are your hobbies? What are your hobbies? Well, I love my doggies. I love my wiener dogs. This buddy boy, he's just getting in this sleepy time. Buddy boy's getting sleepy. I love my Doges. I love trail running. I love cigars. Maybe once I get back to owning a house, I love to just mess around and play around with cigars. I love science fiction movies. I love space movies more than anything, not really science fiction. I love horror movies. And mostly my favorite thing that I love baseball. I love watching baseball. Lately I've got into watching the Premiership rugby. I try to get into American rugby, but it's a little bit dull. I've been watching soccer, football this year, and I've been quite enjoying it. I'm surprised because most of my life I haven't really given time to watch it, but we have a local team, Cincinnati, in the MLS that's playing very well. And I'll follow, the Premier League a little bit. I followed enough to know who's what and where. I don't have a lot of time to watch games, so I'll watch maybe half an hour of a game at a time. But, I will say along those lines, I used to be one of the soccer haters, but it's a quick sport, like no commercials. So I find I can sit down and watch a game and boom, it's over. And I didn't have to invest like half of my freaking day. So that's really about it for me. I love being outdoors more than anything. Dumbbells and donuts. As someone who has done closer to 20K steps a day than 10K over the last 2 years, how much of an effect would you think that? Uh, Based on my experience, when we were running 2 hours a week, my steps were around 20K. And I don't know, it didn't cause a big difference in my maintenance level for me. It might have been 300 calories. So maybe 300. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, of course. Could be 500, but I would probably think around 300, somewhere around there. Could be up to 400, somewhere in that range. Would you expect a material difference, or do you think the metabolic adaptation is like mostly fairy tales in most cases? Your metabolism really doesn't adjust. It pretty much stays pretty much the same over the course of your life. The thing that really decreases is overall general activity. Like if you look at a 2-year-old, everything they're doing all the time is like, they're just constantly moving, right? In every way, their head, their arms, they can't stay stable. And you compare that to a 70-year-old, right? You have to check their pulse because nothing's moving. So even on that basic level, what we have is not just fewer steps as we age and not just, lower mobility, but generally just a consistent rate of decay when it comes to general movements. And that's really what our metabolism is doing over the years. We're not really getting metabolic adaptation. Obviously, our hormones can get out of whack from our lifestyle and just from aging and general physical decay. But if you take care of yourself like you do, there's not going to be really any difference at all. There's not going to be any adaptation. Some people, though, there is a group of people that I call, what was I calling it yesterday? That are, when your weight stays the same, right? They're sticking point Jedis. Some of these guys can not gain weight at 5,000 calories and not lose weight at 2,200 calories. It sounds ridiculous, but I'm working with people like that right now. Their body, for whatever reason, is more stubborn with the sticking points. And somebody's going to say this sounds like bro science, but when you coach, you see it. I'm telling you, you see it. I have a client in Canada, Derek, that struggled to gain weight at 5,000 calories and now is struggling to gain weight under 2,000 or lose weight under 2,000 calories. It's like there's this huge, big, center area where he just wants to stay, his body just wants to stay at the same weight. It can be a blessing and a curse. So, but it does exist. All right, we'll let the old dog down. Paladin, what places in the world would you most like to visit? Excuse me. Well, I've been to a few of these places, but I want to explore them more. The Western United States, when I got out of the military, I spent a lot of time. I actually got a really old Suburban. I had $10,000 in my bank account, and I drove around out west till the money ran out and had the time of my life. Drove out to South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Seattle, Washington State, all that kind of stuff, right? I ended up living in Upper Idaho, the Panhandle, for about a year. After the money ran out, I'd like to go back and explore the West a lot more. I love the West. It's just a part of, who I am. And My time in Scotland was probably the most wonderful experience I've had in my life. I love Scotland. I want to explore it more. I just spent, I don't know, what was it, 10, 14 days, whatever we had there. We just we're out in nature. We just went everywhere and just absolutely brilliant. You just never knew what you were going to find. It was a wonderful adventure. I'd like to do the same with Wales and maybe the UK a little bit, and then maybe expand into other countries in Europe. Paladin. I don't bench press with a barbell, but I can press 38 kilo dumbbells for 8 reps. What do you suppose this would equate to? So let me have my small American brain. 38 kilos into pounds is about 83, 84 pounds per dumbbell for 8 reps. That's pretty impressive. That's 170 for 8 reps. I don't know. Maybe bench 200 for 8, somewhere around there. Ernie, going through a long-term storm and wondering if it's possible to develop mass at home with only loaded dumbbells, bench, and an easy bar. You can do a lot with dumbbells and an easy bar and some body weight stuff if you're smart. Is it optimal? No. But there's a lot you can do as long as you have decent dumbbell weight. That's challenging. You can certainly do a lot of pressing movements. You can do dumbbell bench. You can do barrel press. You can do alternating dumbbell bench. You can do, I'm just looking to see if you have an adjustable bench. You can do dumbbell flies. You can do push-ups. You can do dips between chairs. You can get pretty creative. Overhead pressing, you can crush with your dumbbells. Back, you're going to have to do a lot of dumbbell row variations, maybe chest supported row, a single arm dumbbell row, that sort of thing. Easy bar, you might be able to do rows and Yates rows, stuff like that. Maybe even some pullovers where you mimic kind of a lat prayer movement and really focus on your lats. Legs are going to be a little bit harder, but you can certainly do it. You can do Bulgarian split squats. You can do lunges. You can do supersets with pause jump squats and lunges. You can do supersets, one leg with one leg Bulgarian split squats and, one leg lunges. So there's a lot of quality work you can do. And one good thing about the era we live in is that we can really explore and find exercise variations we hadn't thought of at home. And, there's exercises where you can lay on your back and push your elbows down to work your lats a little bit. And these might sound silly, but you could do that as a superset with like a dumbbell row. And so there's a lot of possibilities. But yes, just focus on what you can control, Ernie. Crush it. Just crush it, my friend. You're going to feel better. You're going to find, if you go in that with a mindset that you're going to crush it, you'll find new ways to destroy the iron, my friend. And you'll mentally be okay. And, if you're in a storm, come join Team Massive. Come get some moral support. Come be a part of a community. One of the best things you guys can do is be a part of community. Being a part of a community or something bigger helps with depression. It helps with general motivation. And even if it's not Team Massive, whatever it is, go find a community you can be a part of. Big Bad Woodulus, any update on the dog front? I say get a border collie. So what Woodulus is asking is, and you guys can vote, is we have 3 dachshunds, 3 wieners, 3 wiener dogs. Buddy Boy, he's my boy, right? He's right there sleeping right now. You can even see him if we go, hey, Buddy Boy, how's it going? He sits there right next to me. He's my pal. And we also have Snoop Dogg, Snoopy Doo. Snoopy Doo is half my dog, half my wife. He kind of bounces around. And then we have Bubba McSausages, which is my wife's dog. Let me see if I can get Snoopy up here. Hey, Snoopy. We'll see if Snoop comes. But I want to get a bigger dog, but one that'll play well with the three small guys. Because the three small guys, they don't give a crap, man. They're fun, they're playful, they're aggressive. But I need a bigger dog that is really good with smaller dogs. So I've been tossing around ideas. I've had a pit bull before, but some pit bulls can be a little bit rough. I was thinking of a basset hound. I like hounds. I've never really had a collie. And I've been thinking of like a bulldog, English bulldog or American bulldog, something, I don't know. James, started lifting again 3 months, but have lower back pains. How do I decide what to do? Well, James, when it comes to lower back issues, we have to do a little troubleshooting. What is causing the lower back issue? Is it general fatigue? Is it general weakness? If so, then we just need to moderate the lower back heavy or lower back intense exercises. What do I mean? If you're just having general lower back fatigue, then things like deadlifts, squats, Romanian deadlifts, that sort of thing are going to really work on that lower back. So we probably need to dial those down a little bit while your lower back gets a little bit stronger. If it's pain, like really bad pain, we would have to remove the exercise that is causing the pain. Okay. If it's form, which it could well be form, then we would have to work on form on squats or deadlifts while keeping the weight very moderate and just kind of moving up when we can. Does that make sense? Paladin, are machine and barbell overhead presses equal? No two exercises are equal. So I want you guys to always remember that. No two exercises are equal. That doesn't mean we don't want to get involved with like worrying about what is better, because better is a combination, right? Are barbell exercises generally some of your best choices? Yes. So are dumbbell exercises. Machines are probably just a hair lower on the tier level, but that doesn't mean they're bad choices. I try to work in a dumbbell, a barbell, and a machine. And a machine can sometimes be a cable. So dumbbell rows, barbell rows, seated cable rows, lat pull downs. So we don't want to, I wouldn't call them equal. But if you couldn't do a barbell overhead press, I wouldn't bat an eye doing a machine overhead press. It's not going to be the same impact, but that doesn't mean you can't work the shoulders hard with them when the program is structured properly. What we always want to do is look at the big picture. What exercises are we doing for a muscle group, and are they enough? Is it everything we can give, right? So if I was to do just a machine as my cornerstone, which I wouldn't, I would be itching to throw a dumbbell overhead in there somewhere if I didn't do a barbell. But if, I only had a machine, say I went to some crappy, gym that didn't have challenging dumbbells, I would do a machine press. I'd probably do rest pause, maybe 5 sets of 10, 60 seconds of rest between, or bulldozer rest pause. And then I would make sure that whatever I did after was super intense, like maybe supersets of side lateral raises with upright rows, maybe bulldozer laterals. I'd have to get funky, maybe high pulls. But that's programming. We don't want to seek the low ground. We want to seek the highest ground. We want to seek the most we can do rather than the least we can do without getting injured. Does that make sense? Are you a Lord of the Rings fan? I've not watched the Amazon series, if that's what you're referencing. I was a little bit nervous. I'm nervous about don't be a hater. I'm nervous about watching any TV show until I know it's not going to be like canceled after 2 years. Because I've been down that road too many times where I watched a show and it's canceled after like 8 episodes or 2 years, and like on Netflix, we started watching Nurse Ratched, season 1. That's the only season. I really liked the show. It was interesting. Where the heck is season 2? Right? Maybe it'll come, maybe it won't. So I'm always nervous about watching TV shows where I don't know if we're going to get closure, right? I love The Hobbit as a book, and that's that's one of my favorite books by far. And sorry, I was just looking at my phone. It was ringing. That's one of my favorite books. So big Hobbit fan. I'd say I'm more of a Hobbit fan than Lord of the Rings, but I definitely appreciate Lord of the Rings. Sandro, hello, big hairy ugly dude. How you doing? Can I subtract 1 set off of compounds? And I'm not. Yeah, absolutely. If you're drinking, though, man, you might want to like get up in the morning, have some agua, have some sodium, have some food, rest. But yeah, you can do that. You can even chop it down to 1 set. What I typically tell clients when they're in a pinch or they don't have a lot of energy is to try to do 2 sets for the big impact, big hitters. And then if they start to feel fatigue or really feel drained, you can drop everything after down to 1 set, if that makes sense. Also, can I subtract 1 set when advancing in weight to be more conservative? Why are we being conservative? Like, what's the fear? I'm just asking in general. If you advance in weight, let's say you're doing bench press 3x8 straight sets with 170 and you advance in weight to 175, why would we drop a set? There's no reason. Be conservative for what reason? To make it, no, we need to attack. We need to attack. When our progression indicator hits, we need to attack. So I hope that makes sense. Before I continue, guys, just want to let you know I'm about 50 minutes in. I will stay on as long as you guys have questions. Again, if you're new here, don't hesitate to post up a question. It doesn't matter if you think it's been asked a million times before, right? Just post up a question. And just a reminder, if your question doesn't go through, head over to Instagram at @BenTheBarman, slide into my DM, and I'll be glad to help you out. All right. Let me just pull this up here. If I'm doing upper posterior, is 3 sets a week of shruggies enough? Well, overhead pressing is going to hit your traps. A lot of the static holds you're doing, like on, you're not necessarily doing a static hold on a deadlift, but a deadlift is going to impact your traps. RDL is going to impact your traps because it's involved in a contraction indirectly. So there's a lot of other things at play that are working your traps and your yoke. And I think 3 sets of shrugs is a good place to start. Usually with my clients, I do more intense, type of shrug work, because with traps, we want to, like with a shrug, it has a very limited range of motion. And generally we don't want to get overly concerned with time under tension. But when we have a movement pattern that has limited time under stress or under duress, like a shrug, we probably want to increase the time of stress. So there are always exceptions to every rule, right? We generally don't have to worry about time under tension. But on a shrug, there's such a limited time under stress or time under duress, it probably is a good idea to increase the intensity. So you could add a little bit more volume. I do things like block sets where we're doing like 3 to 5 reps, and then you hold down here for 3 to 5 seconds. Then you do 3 to 5 reps and you hold for 3 to 5 seconds. And you can do that for blocks of 60 to 120 seconds. So I do things with my clients that we try to encourage, extra time under stress. During a mini cut, what body fat level should I aim for at the end of 3 weeks? I'm not after body fat percentage. I'm going to be more interested in rate of weight loss. That's a more, reasonable target. So if you're doing a cut and you're any slower than 2 pounds a week, you're probably just wasting your own time. And you probably got a big case of I'm hungry. At some point, you just need to suck it up, Buttercup, and get it over with. You need to, like, if you're losing weight super slow, a lot of people do it because they fear muscle loss. Come on. You're not going to lose muscle on a mini cut. Science tells us that it's very hard to lose muscle if you just continue training normally. Even if you would lose a few grams or even an ounce, muscle memory is real and it'll come back immediately. So it's a non-issue. So we want to be more aggressive with our cuts. The thing I find is that there's a certain percentage of people that are tethered to the I'm hungry, right? And I get it, you're hungry. It's a cut, right? All these people providing, you can eat more protein, more lean protein that'll provide food volume. You can eat more lower glycemic plant-based foods that'll provide food volume. So you can be wise about your cut, but at some point, we have to get at least reasonably aggressive so we don't, extend a cut out for way too long. So 2.5 pounds a week is a really good goal. And at 3 weeks, if it's a short cut, like 3 weeks, I'd probably say let's aim for 8-9 pounds. Let's get it. Hugh Jackman is supposedly, I know, I made a video about it. I made a video about this. Like, you guys understand, I was a binge eater. And at my worst, I was eating 6,000-7,000 calories a day, maybe 8,000 calories a day. It was work, dude. It was work with dirty food. For dinner, I'd stuff myself silly with whatever we were eating. Like 3,000, 2,500. It's hard to get in 2,000 calories in a sitting of anything. Yeah, really, it is. So after dinner, later in the evening, I would have ice cream, I would have chips, I would have 4 packs of ramen with cheese. Even with all that stuff, eating a lot of ice cream and a bag of chips every night and 4 ramens with cheese. That was a lot of food, man. I was painful. What this is, in my opinion, is Hollywood bullshit. It's just stuff to fluff a story to sell some, it's just some PR crap that they put out to get everybody talking like we are now. Oh, OMG, hashtag OMG. He's eating 8,000 calories a day. I get everybody talking about it. And then we're going to be looking at his physique. And, we're trapped in that net right now, folks, right? It is a load of BS. I couldn't eat 8,000 calories a day. Anybody that's eating 8,000 calories a day knows what a pain is. It's just going to be a fat ass journey. You would just get fat. It's not like just eat more calories, build muscle. That's usually smoke and mirrors for saying he's going on a steroid cycle. I don't know that he is, but is what it is, right? I don't really care. I want my superheroes to look super. Right? Have a few injections. I don't give a crap. What goes through your mind when you're deep on a hard set? Mostly a lot of emotion And like I'm super passionate about it. I mean, not every day, every set, but um a lot of self-talk, like don't effing quit. Don't. You got to fight back against the mind. So there's a lot of that going on. I tell myself, lean into the pain. Whatever works for you, man. But there's got to be some degree of pushing back. Like the pain sets in, the stress sets in, everything in our brain's telling us to quit, and that's when the war begins. So we have to temper that with being safe. We just can't punish ourselves. We don't want to punish ourselves with sets, but we want to train hard enough, frequently enough that we're getting something out of it without punishing ourselves. Carlton, a client of mine, Carlton's a truck driver. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. If you could go back to any time in history, where would you go back? I don't know. I don't know, man. That's a good question. Probably to 1983. Probably the most comfortable place in my childhood. Just playing Stratomatic baseball at night, playing Atari games at night, watching baseball games, playing baseball, playing basketball, no care in the world, no stress. That's where I would probably go. Big Scotty MC. Big fella, you good? All good. I'm alive, and that's all that matters. I'm doing your 137 workout. If I can get, for 5 pounds to add on, the closest I can get is 2.5. Yeah, that's fine. Do what you can do. That's close enough. Thoughts on traditional barbell stiff leg deadlifts? Been seeing a lot of influencers start to implement this. A stiff leg deadlift is more of an assistance exercise for the deadlift. Look, you have to have a really strong lower back to begin with. So you shouldn't even consider a stiff leg deadlift until you've spent years bringing up your regular deadlift and your lower back strength. A stiff leg deadlift, you're pulling off the ground and your hips are right below your shoulders. Your legs are pretty stiff and you're pulling from that position. So you're pulling from a stiff leg position with the bar off the ground. It's not just a fancy variation of the RDL. You have to have a strong lower back. You can't be in that position where you're just getting lower back stress all the time. And, you probably have to have reasonable squat and deadlift form and strength for it to even be worth considering. But it's something that is more of a deadlift assistance exercise. I don't program it in because, in the power building world, I know, or in the coaching world, I know that most people with me are still working to bring up their lower back strength. Those that have a really good deadlift and lower back strength, if they want to do deadlift specialization or focus programs, we'll certainly work that in the mix. Some of my clients do that or have done that. I am 1 pound away from a 10-pound bulk goal, but I got a foot injury. And after that, I got sick. I would just cut, man. I mean, you're going to spend 2 to 3 weeks trying to get back up to speed after all that shenanigans. Might as well just cut and get back up to speed after the cut's done. Thoughts on more out of less weight? We want to get more out of the weight we're using. We don't want to drop the weight and try to get more out of less weight. It's just a silly concept. Like, it's regressive underload, right? Instead of progressive overload, it's regressive underload. You want to get the most out of the weight you're using, and then when you hit your progression indicator, you move up in weight. We don't want to be like, hey, I'm doing 200 pounds on bench for 3 sets of 8, but I'm going to use less and try to get more out of it. What the regressive underload? What a stupid concept. You can certainly do drop sets and push them for max safe reps. I'm not saying you can't do things like that, but like I'm going to wake up today and use less weight and get more out of it. You're going to get more out of less weight than you got with the current weight you're using. You better be getting more out of the current weight you're using. Brandon, in the military, they would measure our necks to determine a midsection. I don't know. I mean, I've never looked into the accuracy of this predictor, but if they're measuring your belly right around there's 2 things that occur when you become a fat ass. Your neck gets bigger because there's more fat in your neck. And that's why a lot of the bigger guys tend to pick up sleep apnea. And you're going to store internal visceral fat. And men will do that. So men almost always, almost to a man, when they gain weight, they gain neck size and belly size. So I haven't looked at the actual data, but I could say it sounds reasonable as assessing a general range. So I'm not sure about assessing, like there's going to be some variability with body fat percentage, but as a general indicator, it's probably reasonably accurate. Of obesity, maybe not a body fat percentage. I'm closing in on a year of lifting, and I'm thinking about what's next. Should I hire a coach? I've had some good novice gains. Brandon, I'm a big fan. Look, I'm going to put it this way. And I'm not pushing my coaching services because I really don't need to push them. I've been doing this long enough. My client base usually stays full, but it always stays full. And usually what happens is I'll have 1 or 2 people, like I had a client who just graduated from college, might be moving, whatever. They might, you have people that move on in life for various reasons. Pick up injuries, taking a break from coaching until the injury is done. So that's usually the way coaching works. I usually have every month 2 to 4 people that turn over. And then I'll have people, like last night, I was sitting around and I had 2 people apply for coaching. It just kind of happens organically because I've been doing this for so long. So, what's the point I was trying to make? Coaching, should you hire a coach? I think what the point I was trying to make is I'm not trying to pimp my coaching. What I'm trying to say is if you are serious about lifting, it's probably a good idea to get a good coach at some point. To a coach that knows form. If your coach doesn't know form, or if you watch their squat and deadlift form on YouTube, or you watch whatever they call good form on any platform and it's sketch, they might be a good lifter, but I wouldn't hire them as a coach. You want a coach that isn't just going to hand you a program, but that's also going to make sure you're getting the most out of the program. Does that make sense? So I hired a running coach at one point, and I hired one of the best in the world. I think there's a lot of value in that. I think there's a lot of value in working with people over you. I worked with Donnie Thompson, not as a coach, but at his gym. He was then the strongest power lifter in the world. There's value in working with people like that. You have to go into it with, what am I going to learn? Not every coach is going to be a good fit for everybody, but you have to go in it trying to learn. And I think there's a lot of value. The accountability alone. So whoever you choose, make sure that they know form reasonably well. And look, my honest opinion, I'm going to tell you guys what I've seen you can do with it, what you want. There's a lot of people that want coaching money in this industry, but their heart's not with coaching. It's just not. There's a lot of check-in once a week, guys. If that's what you want, go for it. You know, I'm a coach. This is what I do. I'm in the trenches. The first thing I did this morning was do form checks on Team Massive, answer questions on Team Massive, do form checks on Instagram, answer questions on Instagram. Then I went over to my client work and I started doing my client work. This is what I do all day, every day. I'm not patting myself on the back, but what I'm telling you is I'm a professional coach. I coach all day long, every day, every second of every day. That is what I'm doing when I'm awake. That's my passion. I'm not putting down people that don't have that passion, but there are a lot of people that coach that don't have the same passion. They check in once a week. They don't have an idea of form. They give the same fucking workout to everybody and either do it or you suck. My workout's the best, blah, 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 blah. They give the same macros to everybody. They give the same meal suggestions to everybody. That's not coaching. That's handing out some bullshit that you like to do to everybody else. Be like me, right? As coaching, I work to develop a relationship with the people that work with me to the best that I can because I care about their results. And for fuck's sake, these people are giving me money for help, and I take that seriously. So the only point I'm trying to make here is there's a lot of people that coach that aren't coaches. So just make sure that who you go with, you're going to be getting out of it what you want. Big Josh Megaroids. If taking an extended break from lifting, what is that, Josh? An extended break? Are you filming a porn movie? What do you think about Lauren Creatine? Creatine has so many general health benefits. And I understand you don't want to waste it, but know that there's a lot of benefits just from general energy and focus and cognitive function that I wouldn't think it is wasted. Loading doesn't take that long. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter. If I was taking a break from lifting, I'd probably just not use it. Save the moolah. And loading is only going to take, I don't know. What does it take? 5 days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever. I would just start taking up again when I'm ready to rock. That's what I would do. And, I don't think there's any downside in any way you go. It really depends. I mean, if you're not going to live for a while, you might as well just save some money. Rob, doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 3 times a week. How should I program for strength? I have a clients doing Jiu-Jitsu 3 times a week, some 2. And generally, you're probably going to want to probably have 1 day off where you're resting. And you probably want to lift about 3 days a week. I would probably do an upper posterior or like a torso, limbs, and rotate. And just know there's going to be some adaptation required. Your body's going to be, your body's going to need to get up to speed. So you're going to need to eat more. And you're going to have to understand that it's not going to be always easy. Vinny P, what's up? Been a while. Welcome back, Vinny. I've been able to submerge myself in the social. It's been a while since I've been able to submerge myself in the social media world. That sounds like a good detox. I know you like chains, but what's your take on heavy bands? I've played around with bands a lot. I like chains for a lot of reasons. Number one, I find them easier to set up. Number one, they feel better. Like bands feel a little bit more wobbly. I like the instability of the chains. I can kind of feel the rhythm and the pattern. Does that make sense? You can feel the sway of the chains, whereas a band's kind of I just like chains more. But hey, if you like bands, roll with bands. I don't think there's a benefit. I've used bands to work the overload. So they were pulling up from the top of the rack. So I don't know. It depends on the resistance curve and how much you like them. I think it's easier for me in the racks I had to control the resistance curve with chains, but either way is fine, man. I mean, bands are cheap enough, a lot cheaper than chains where you can play with them. Reno, what is the best exercise to get a very wide back? Rows, 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 and rows. In many variations of rows, as you can stand, dumbbell rows, barbell rows, Yates rows, seated cable rows, T-bar rows, Pendley rows, 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 chest supported rows. Any rows you can do. They're going to give you a wide back. How to build meaty hammies. You have to have that ugly little exercise called leg curl in. That's a good exercise to get in volume. And if you can find a back extension station, most gyms have when you can do glute ham raises on a back extension. That's a good compliment. I like doing dumbbell RDLs because I can just grab a set of dumbbells and I don't have to load another godforsaken barbell. Barbell RDLs are fine. But I think if you got those three in the mix, you can try to mess around with Nordic curls if you're so inclined, but that's going to be a good base. Have you ever done direct neck work? No. I don't know any advanced lifter with a small neck. Even the guys that would say their neck's small, their neck's a lot bigger than the average individual. I don't find value in it. I don't think it's required for neck size. A lot of guys want to take shortcuts with neck size and do a lot of neck work and think they can just get a big neck like whoever by shortcutting it, just doing a lot of extra neck work. You're going to have to put in a lot of work over a lot of time anyway. And that's going to tend to bring up your neck size without neck work. Last week you mentioned cheesecake, not pudding. No, cheesecake's my favorite dessert. I don't know. We don't know what pudding here is in America. What are your three favorite flavors? A lot, and a lot. I'm a simple man. Just regular, plain, basic New York cheesecake. We don't need to get all fruity or chocolatey. If you want to have a little bit of that on there, that's fine. For me, it's lemon, coffee, and anything Biscoff. Does pineapple belong on pizza? We're talking about this on Team Massive, and I believe it was a Greek individual from Canada, that started putting pineapple on pizza, at least according to Wikipedia. Look, pizza exists to pile on meat and cheese, and to pile on spiciness and aggressive vegetables, aggressive flavors. If you want some pineapple, you want some bacon, go cook a ham. Right? Amanda P., mistakes you made when you first started lifting. I didn't make a lot because I had a good mentor and I got lucky. I think the biggest mistakes I made over time were trying to train. There was a point after 3 years where I tried to train 5-6 days a week and it beat the living crap out of my body. So that and not continuing to focus on dips and pull-ups as much. I kind of got away from body weight exercises after the first 3 years. Soy sauce banana. How to figure out how many calories shake and bake as a piece of chicken. I have no idea, dude. I haven't done shake and bake since mom made it like when I was 16. I'm not trying to play ignorant here, but I don't even know. I know you got the little baggie. You could weigh the baggie with the plastic in, and then when you're all done shaking and baking, you could weigh the baggie and see what the difference is and subtract the percentage or add the percentage. When you stop using creatine, are there any obvious changes? You're going to have less water in the muscles, maybe slightly less energy. Troy, why the hell can't I squat? I don't know, Troy. It bothers the fuck out of me, to be honest with you. Not that you can't squat, but it's just frustrating. Like when Troy squats, his knees go in. This is very common. What's happening, like, is if you're standing there and you push your glutes, if you squeeze your glutes together, what happens? Your knees open. When your knees are coming in, it's hard. It's like the opposite. You're not really using your glutes. You're not calling your glutes into play when you're squatting. You can't really squat knees in with your glutes clenched. You're going to be like super tight and awkward. It's more of a mental tick. Any of us can just squat naturally without weight on our back, but you put weight on our back and we develop this fear and this bad habit. It's not limb lengths. It's not some magical knee valgus. What it is a discipline. Troy, I love you, but open your fucking knees. It's not something you don't want to hear a man say, but open your knees, Troy. Open your fucking knees. Just open your fucking knees. You know, that's what a lot of you guys need to hear on your squats. Open your fucking knees. You're not, I'm not being hard on Troy. Troy's a client of mine. I'm saying this in general. We need to put a light weight on our back and squat normally. Open our knees. Let them open. They need to match the angle of your feet in the hole. And keep doing it until you can. And repetition, repetition, repetition. If your thighs are caving in, you're pushing them in. They're not just naturally caving in. They're only caving in if you completely have no tension at all. It's not the case. Usually we're pushing our legs together rather than pushing them out. We have to push them out. Push your glutes forward. Push them out. Hold them out. Give me $1 million if you hold your legs open. Give barbell squats a break, but now my shoulder feels like it's going to explode when putting a broomstick across it. I don't know if that's, I'm not trying to be a doctor here, but I don't know. Impingements don't usually cause shoulders to feel like they're going to explode. Am I wrong? You know, shoulder impingements. Are you doing a super narrow grip? Maybe use a safety bar squat or widen your grip. I'm not going to get into all the doctor stuff and rotator cuff exercise. That's not my lane. I'm not going to pretend to know it, but what is your opinion on the close grip Larson press compared to the bench? I don't like comparisons. No, it's not potentially better. I don't like one exercise is better than the other. It's a combination of exercises that are better. As long as you have reasonable things that place. A close grip is just going to make the exercise more difficult from a stability standpoint. Or, I mean, the Larson's going to make it more difficult from a stability standpoint. I'm not overly in love with the Larson as a hypertrophy movement. I don't think you need to do that. All you really need to do is control the bar down to begin with. I'm not saying it doesn't have value for building the bench, but I'm not in love with it as a hypertrophy movement. Specifically, I don't like to add instability in for hypertrophy. So no, best is always a combination of exercises. So as long as whatever exercises you have in the mix, you're good. A close grip is going to hit the triceps more. So we don't really want to use a close grip as a primary chest builder. Big Paul, go massivest teams of all teams. Yes, indeed. I'm going to get a drink here. And what are we, about an hour and 20 minutes in? I'm going to keep rolling as long as you guys have questions. We had movie night last night. What did we watch? We had movie nights, and what did we watch, Fiona, last night, movie night? Mama Mafia with Mama Mafia, something like that. It was actually not bad. I found it to be pretty entertaining. So it got crappy Rotten Tomatoes, but it was just a stupid, funny movie. So anyway, Adam's Family. How much can the leverages affect someone's rep strength on certain lifts? It can impact it a lot. Like coaching form, if you coach form for a living, you will understand the nuances of guys that have different limb lengths and leverages. Like some guys, when they bench, they have to push. It seems like forever. So they tend to have longer arms, and we want to move things around a little bit. So it can impact things. When you have somebody that's used to looking at these things, they can help you adjust, but it still can impact things. Like there are guys with longer legs that struggle to squat. They look like lawn chairs and stuff like that. And sometimes squats just aren't the best exercise. And sometimes bench press, squats can be a good exercise, and bench can be a good exercise, but sometimes it's best to have other things in there because of limb lengths and leverages. So it can definitely impact things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that makes them a bad exercise. And, we have to drop it. So, Aberrant, is breakfast really the most important? No, it's not. It's not. That's just some nonsense. The most important thing is that you're getting in your consistent calories and protein and nutrients. And then it makes sense relative to your workout times. What would you say is a 2-plate 8 bench of running? 2-plate 8? Oh, 2-plate bench. Oh, we're getting fancy. Okay. You're getting fancy with me. You're trying to confuse old man. Running. I'm a trail runner, so I don't really like pavement running. I say 10K. I would say 10K. Fight me. Fight me if you disagree. I'm open. I'm open. Like if you can do 225 on bench and 10K. Most people never get to a 10K. Most people never get to a 2-plate bench. It is what it is. I actually made is online. Welcome, Joe. When doing threes, do I drop 10% every set? Yeah, about 10%. I like to keep it round. So like if the first 10% is around 15, I'll do 15 pound drops. And if the last set forces you below like 135, I don't like to take the 45-pound plate off. So sometimes we'll make adjustments, but I like to keep them like 15, 15, 15, 20, 20, 20, 25, 25, 25, if that makes sense. Big Troy S. What was the best live metal band you ever saw? Mine was Sepultura. I did not see Sepultura. I will tell you, Iron Maiden And Megadeth I saw twice. I'm not a big Megadeth fan. Don't hate me. Not a big Megadeth fan at all. But there were some pretty good shows. I think my favorite concert of all time was the Monsters of Rock. I got to see twice. 2 days and out of 3 on the weekend. Alpine Valley, way back in the day. I believe the Monsters of Rock had then Metallica way back when, I believe. And Scorpions, Van Halen, maybe even Dokken, Whitesnake, or one of those types of bands, something like that. So I got to see Metallica twice, really early. GK, hello, I don't like back extensions. That's okay. Yeah, I don't generally really program in back extensions because so there's so much back pressure for individuals as it is. So I tend not to overdo direct back extension. If somebody can handle it, they can plug them in. Big Brian, what percent of body weight would be considered too much to lose during a mini cut? There's not too much. There's no too much. But I would say let's just look at a mini cut. A mini cut is quick, in and out, boom, right? It's like a haircut. In, out, done. Right? Like men's haircuts are like mini cuts. We go in, we're like, done, right? Women go in, it's like all day thing. They got to do the shampoo. They got to do the thing and the other things and the 8 things, and it's like 3 hours or whatever. That feels like 3 hours, right? So, you know what I'm saying. We're ugly. Women are beautiful. They take forever and everything. I would say like more than 15 pounds on a cut, and I would like a mini cut to me is like 10 to 12 pounds, boom, in, out. You start to get over 15, 20 pounds. That's like a flubulard cut. Like you got a little too fluffy. You're trying to knock off 15, 20, 25, even 30 pounds. So that would be more of a workman cut. You're going to have to dig in for a couple, 2-3 months. Beyond that, you're obese, right? And I'm not being disrespectful, but that's a long-term lifestyle change process. Punch the clock. Ventrix. How do you schedule an upper posterior split? Can you do up posterior, upper off? Well, the only factor here is if you do bicepticons on your uppers, you want to rest the bicepticons before doing posterior, which is legs and back. So you're right. You want to do posterior, legs back. Then you do your upper, chest, shoulders, arms. And then you do off. You're resting your bicepticons and you're fresh with posterior. You can insert rest days whenever you want. So you can do posterior, upper, off, posterior, off, upper, off. You can do it. You can keep it fluid as long. The only rule is that you have to rest before a posterior day. What is the best way to loosen your back up before training? Never had an issue with tight back. I'm nervous if you have a tight back. In periods of my life where I've had back stress, sometimes working it made it worse. So I don't know, man. I mean, number one, if you have a tight back, I wouldn't do anything that's going to make it worse. Maybe heat rub. But I'm nervous about doing more exercise because sometimes when I have a gimp back and I do more exercise, it makes it worse. Are the Giants the most improved team in the NFL after the draft? I didn't even have a chance to look at it. I just glanced at it briefly. So I won't lie. I'm behind the the news on that. I got to get caught up. Are you going 10-foot ceilings? Baby, we going 10-foot ceilings? I think it's in the build we're doing downstairs. Can you do massive mass with more volume? You can, yeah, absolutely. Massive mass, you're doing like 2 sets per exercise. You're doing the last set max safe reps. And if you're able to do that and you want to do more volume, you can. So Larzo said, can you do massive mass with more volume and progress the last set for max reps if you are a lazy a-hole like me and hate switching weights? Well, I'm not sure what you mean. What are you doing, Larzo? Massive mass, you're not switching weights. You can do whatever you want as long as you're progressing. Salah, Steve, how to progress in intensity day? I would have to know specifically what you're doing, because progression, setting up intelligent progression is going to depend on what intensity techniques you're doing. So if you want to send me a message on social media, I'd be happy to look at it and give you suggestions, or just join teammassiveiron.com. Everybody join. Please join. We'd love to have you. I'm there to help. I do form checks, topics of the day, all kinds of good stuff. Come join. It's not like it doesn't cost much. Just pennies. Harut. How's it going, Harut? Steel Rat goes to Gene. Hey, big, hairy, ugly dude. Am I right that you advise to have like 1.5 times more horizontal pulls than vertical pulls? Well, you are correct, but this is more pragmatic. Like, you have vertical pulls, which are like lat pull downs and pull-ups. And you have horizontal pulls, which are like dumbbell rows, barbell rows, seated cable rows, T-bar rows. Why do I like horizontal pulls? 2 reasons. I'm not saying not to do vertical pulls. Horizontal pulls will give you more progression. They're beefier. They're more intense. A lat pull down usually caps out pretty easy. You can progress, but it's not quite as beefy. Pull-ups are great exercise, but you are going to get a lot of bang for your buck out of horizontal pulls. So you want it weighted like 60. We're not making rules here. If I'm programming for someone, we get in our pull-ups and we get in lat pull downs. That's about it for vertical pulls. And then the rest of the stuff we fill in with deadlifts for back, we fill in with rows. But rows are big hitters. They build big size. Dumbbells and barbell rows, penalty rows and dumbbell rows and T-bar rows and seated cable rows and chest supporter rows. Those are some big, beefy lifts that are going to give you a lot of back size. It's just that there's a lot of good rows, right? So let's use the big weapons. That's why. Big weapons, big back. 1 set. Do you believe bent over rowing variations are necessary? No one lift is necessary. The only thing that's necessary is that the totality of your approach on your back makes sense. You want my honest opinion, if you're not barbell rowing, you need to be doing some big, I was going to say motherfucking, but I didn't, because I didn't want to offend anybody. You need to use some big motherfucking dumbbell rows. Excuse my language. These are big exercises, folks. I love the chest supporter row. Nothing against that. But the dumbbell row and the barbell row, man, you should be doing one of them. If not, you're not going to see the 7th layer of Kram's glory. You're not going to ascend to the 7th. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying. Canadian Jesus. Morning all. Welcome to the party. Fat Chick in a Barn. Good morning. I'm late. Lost track of tie. She lost her tie. I want to congrats Fat Chick in a Barn. She's a client of mine. And everybody give her a cheer. Follow her on YouTube. She lost 10% of her total body weight, which I think is a really nice milestone. So congrats. I'm thinking that's where we get into trouble, isn't it? I'm thinking of moving some smaller movements, calves, arms, isolations, into a short, separate workout. In the massive iron world, we call that a junk day. Yeah, I'm all for it. I like junk days, junk workouts. Because like when you get into the gym and you're doing like the big hitters, what I find is like, oh, I'm fired up to do the big hitters. Like, oh, now I got to do calves and abs and rear delts. You know, that's how I feel. That's how I legitimately feel. Every workout for 38 years, I'm fired up to do the big stuff, but when it comes to the smaller stuff, so I like junk days. If it makes sense for you, time-wise, morning workouts, you could get in, you could do your calves and abs and your foo-foo, fluff movements in the morning, 20, 30 minutes done, and then come back later in the day and do the big hitters. That's fine. Brandon, is reverse dieting? No. Nope, not necessary. I think I have watched over the years, having been at bodybuilding competitions, sponsored bodybuilders when I was at Muscle and Brawn, friends that are bodybuilders, help people at bodybuilding shows, coach people at bodybuilding shows. I'm not specifically a bodybuilding coach, but I've done it. You can see folks that are in a long-term cut for a show. I've seen them bounce back 2-3 weeks after the show, gain 10, 15, even 20 pounds. I recall Mr. North Carolina, who was once a friend of mine in another life. He gained like 30 pounds the first month after a show. So I think when you go super deep and super deprived, reverse dieting can help you get back up to normal without overcompensating. But for the average individual after a cut, it's just a freaking waste of time, right? It's your metabolism after a short normal cut isn't going to be like sporked, right? Or your wiring for eating isn't going to be sporked. So it's a waste of time. After a cut, let's get back to building. I have my clients do 5 days at what we think is maintenance. And we weigh in every day just to kind of you chill on the water weight gain, and then we go from there. Godwin. I've recently ended a cut and want to maintain my physique for the summer. That's fine. I'm interested in doing full body workouts twice a week, probably. Yeah, that sounds good to me. There's no issues in having periods in life where we're not guns blazing training and guns blazing bulk or cut. Not everything has to be guns blazing in the training world. You can have maintenance phases. Not everything has to be bulk or cut. You can just get to where you want to be and hold steady for a while. There's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't take much from a muscle building standpoint to keep your weight or keep your muscle. It really doesn't. It's super easy to maintain muscle. So it doesn't take much training at all. Rico, good afternoon. Join Team Massive if you haven't. Harut, do you count the initial water loss during a cut? No. I tend to ignore the first 2 to 4 days because you're going to gain it back. So it's like a net, right? So where do you start counting? Well, it's kind of like eyeballing it, right? There's some art to it. It's not a precise, like Harut is starting a cutting diet or started a cutting diet and losing fairly rapidly. So that tells me, Harut, you're probably going to be a rapid gainer when you put more carbs back in. So, my best advice is to maintain the cut, go as deep as you want. You're probably going to need to do 13, 14 pounds, 10 pounds after like the first 3 or 4 at least. That would be safest. But go as deep as you can stand when you're in a cut and you have that momentum. Rafael de Souza, your video on main gaining was excellent. Thank you. Very well explained. I appreciate that. I really do. I recorded right out of bed yesterday, and you always get a little bit paranoid that you're going to ramble on. Big Tomas Mitchell, after 100-pound weight loss, what is the best thing you can do to help combat the crippling body dysmorphia? It's real. I, after 100 pounds, still felt, a lot mentally like the old person. It took time. And I think the first thing you need to do is understand it's going to take time. And sometimes it just takes a lot of time of other people saying, you look really good, before we start to see what other people see. But I think during that time, we need to be proactive and we need to continue to build, because building gains momentum. Like fat loss, you look dramatically different. But muscle building, you also look dramatically different. So I had a fat loss block, and then I had a 2-year period after where I gained my muscle back, or, gained, really improved my physique. And both of those were like, wow, in just a different way from other people. So having a coach in your life, or some people that'll be honest with you, because there's a lot of people that are polite. You look great. I don't mean this. This is going to sound really bad. Maybe I'll get canceled for it. But if you look on like Facebook, somebody will post a picture of themselves, and people are just being polite here, so I'm not trying to be negative. People will post a picture of themselves on Facebook, and people leave comments like, so beautiful, right? We look awesome. And they look like a train wreck, like they just drank for 7 straight years, right? But people are being polite. Goodness is all good. Positivity, love. You look wonderful, right? I'm not against that. What I'm saying here is that sometimes people can tell us things that aren't an accurate assessment of where we really are, right? So you want people in your life that can accurately, that's a form of love, like when you want it, like unsolicited, like, dude, you look like shit, right? Unsolicited crap. But a form of love is people that you can trust to be honest with you. Because people that want positive change need people in their life that can say you're a little bit off, and that you're not going to you're not going to like, what did you say? Like, you're not going to get reactionary over their criticism. You're like, Thomas is a client of mine. And when I say, oh, you got a couple pounds of fat here, a couple pounds of fat here, it's not a criticism. It's said in love. It's said because I care, because I want to help him be his best self. Like, we got to move this piece around. We got to move that piece around. So you want people in your life like that. Body dysmorphia, it can be a tough one. I deal with people that have all forms of varying degrees of body dysmorphia, mild and intense. I've had clients that were at 16, 17, 18% who thought they were fat, and they looked awesome. Awesome compared to everybody else walking around playing. Like, you look at them, you're like, you look awesome, man. You look, and like, I don't toss around things like that just to make people feel good. But when I tell somebody they look awesome, or their squat looks awesome, or their physique looks awesome, I mean it, right? So, but I've had people that they can hear it, but it just takes a while for them to start believing it. They need to start seeing the things you can, or you see. Click the like button. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. If you had to do a challenge with beard, I love Beard Meats food. What would you be eating? I know he doesn't like spicy food, so I'd be out on that. Oh man, what will we eat? Chicken wings would be fun. I like chicken wings a little bit. right? I don't know. Maybe a fun chicken wings and beer challenge. I don't know how I don't. He's in good shape, so I don't know that he really drinks, but wingies would be fun. I'm not a big food eating guy. Like I can't eat a lot. I don't like overeat anymore. Not like my old days. My old days, I would get everything on the menu. I don't like to feel overly full now. I don't even know what I could maximally eat, but it might be wingy dingies. I don't like those food challenges where he's eating a lot of carbs, like fries and nothing against it, but man, right? I don't want to do that. Desserts too. Like I've seen him do some massive sugar challenges, and I'm just sick to my stomach. Zombie, is it true that cutting carbs makes you lose a lot of weight? Yeah. No, nothing to worry about. You might feel a little bit more flat, but really carbs are the only macronutrient that it's your primary focus macronutrient wise when you're cutting weight, because you want to maintain or raise protein. You want to keep fat at least 20% because fat impacts your skin, your organs, your brain, your central nervous system. So really, most of what we cut during a cutting phase is carbs. And that's not anti-carb, that's just reality. David, is Buddy Boy a dachshund? Yeah, a mini. You say that fat bulking is suboptimal. Indeed. But over the course of 5 to 10 years, fat bulkers will be close. That's nonsense, man. You're making that up. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I've never seen a fat bulker close. Everybody I've seen close to genetic potential is not a fat bulker. I've never seen the individual you're talking about. Potential is training. And everybody I've seen that's trained hard, they usually take nutrition very seriously. I'm not against periods of slightly more aggressive bulking, but every fat bulker I've ever met in my career regretted it because I got a lot of weight to lose. Your logic says that fat bulkers somehow are closer to genetic potential. How? That's 100% training. Fat bulking is not sustainable. Getting close to your genetic potential is going to require 5-10 years of hard work. When I say 5, I'm being polite. You can't fat bulk for 10 years. That's nonsense, my friend. I have a question. In my first year of training, I made big gains, but at a time, I become so obsessed with abs that I lost half my size. Okay? Now it's been about 3 months and I'm focusing on multiple progression methods because of basic linear doesn't work and it's not sustainable. So let's toss that off the table. My question is, if I keep focusing on progression and calorie surplus, will I get my gains back? Yep. Muscle memory is your friend, my friend. Muscle memory will have those gains back if you just stay in a surplus. Raphael, how's the new place doing? This is our holdover place. It's good. It's new. It's a new townhouse. It's quiet. We like it here. We lived downtown for a long time, and there's always stuff going on, so it's a nice break. Speaking of going to the gym. Oh, no. Speaking of going to the gym. What? Speaking of sci-fi. Sorry, brain hiccup. What's your top 3 sci-fi space series or movies? I'm not a big series guy. Top 3 movies: Aliens, Event Horizon, and I'd like to toss in a non-alien movie. There's a lot of good next tier ones out there, from Pandorum to Sunshine. The third one's hard for me. The Thing really isn't a deep space movie, even though I like The Thing. The third one's a hard one for me. It's not that there's not a lot of good movies. It's just at that level, there's a lot that just fight for, like 1 and 2 are easy. Aliens and Event Horizon. Beyond that, everything else for me is kind of fighting around the same ground. Timothy, any chance you're keeping tabs on basketball? My Bucks are out of it. I'm from Wisconsin, Milwaukee Bucks. But I haven't checked. We've been closing on our house, trying to sell our house. Today, we finally wrapped that up. And the last month has been hell, so I've barely kept up with my own life, to be honest with you. Thank you. You said I want a free thing. If I want the whey protein powder, do I tell you the address? Just message me on email, benthebarman@gmail.com. You don't have to pay for anything. Email me, benthebarman@gmail.com, and I'll send it to you. Nope, everything's free. Shipping's free. On me, my friend. I appreciate you guys. Andrew, excited to catch this live. Thank you, sir. Safety squat bar versus belt squat. Both, my friend, both. We want to think big picture. We want to think big guns. How many big guns can we bring to the party and fit those big guns in wisely over the course of a week? And I would say both. Sandro, I'm mid-intermediate. Should I expect the +1s and overhead press? It depends on where you're at. Like a +1 on a top set is going to be about 5 to 6 pounds to your 1 rep max. So if you're hitting one every 4 weeks, you're looking at about gaining 60 pounds on that lift a year. That's pretty good progress. So every 4, 5, 6 weeks would be really, really good. About skull destroyers, what weight have you used typically? It's a weight that is deceptive and harder to progress on. And you really don't see a lot of guys going over 60. I've seen guys get 60, 65, 70, but that's really about the cap. Come here, buddy. Boom. Come up. You back for more fun? Come here, bud. A few Q&As ago. Thank you, buddy boy. You told me to stop focusing on some, as I later found, unimportant squat minutia, and since then my quad training started going well. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Raphael, for dogs looking to a Belgian Malinois, I hear they are great and very smart. Never heard of it, but I will check it out. Our St. Bernard loves little dogs, and we have 2 Australian Shepherds healer mixes. About scale weight, moving up on bulk, I measure every day for a week, take mid-number and compare it. That's fine. What we want to do is watch for trends. So however you analyze the trends, averages or graphs, that's fine. You're on top of things, and that's 90% of the battle, my friend. JKC, seen your post about coaching people on your platform. Are you still doing that if they're relatively close to you? I haven't coached in a while on the platform, but it's something I dearly miss. The last time I did it was with Special Olympics. And once I get settled into my new house, I would like to do some coaching for the platform. We're going to be in a town called Wilmington, Ohio, which isn't too far from here. So yeah, I'm going to have a basement gym. It's not something I can invest a lot of time in, but I like doing it and it's fun. So with the right person, absolutely. Big Bad Larzo, I'm doing 8x3 on squats on one of my leg days, and I think I need a wheelchair. Yes, that sounds fun. I want to shorten my workout. Yeah, 3x8. Do my threes protocol. That way you can back down 10%, do max reps, back down 10%, do max reps. Thoughts on front squats? Well, I'm not against them. I think if they're a good fit for you, run with them. What I've found over the years that most people find them annoying AF. Hard to hold in position, put strain on the mid back. most people, and I'm not against them, but most people tend to find they're more trouble than they're worth. Big Sam, you speak a lot about power shrugs. Is there still value in a more strict shrug? You have to have a little bit of power. Like if we're just doing this, right? No power generation. You're not going to get a lot of value out of it. You're playing a mental game, right? You're being delusional. So there has to be some power. There has to be a reasonable baseline degree of power, but it doesn't have to be overly powerful. Does that make sense? I wouldn't hold at the top. You want to get holding at the bottom is just as good for your shrugs as holding at the top, and it's probably going to give you more value, and you can prolong it. If you're holding at the top, generally it's going to cost you weight, and the traps can take a lot of beating. And holding at the top, you could do that stuff as like a drop set, as an end cap, after you've done some hard work, but I wouldn't do it as the only method, if that makes sense. MCM, what's your opinion on partial range of motion reps at the end of a normal set? Yeah, you can do that. Let's say you're doing bicepticons and you're doing them strict with a barbell or easy bar, and then you want to do some partials or kind of cheaties. That's fine. However you're working it in, that's fine. I count the regular reps, and then I'll do like a plus. So let's say you do barbell curls to 9, and then you do 3 cheatier reps. I might do 9 plus 3, if that makes sense. Tim, similar to an earlier question I asked, tips on maintaining center of mass balance when free weight squatting. If the bar isn't driving straight down, Tim, it's usually a factor of your knee and your knee and foot position. Your feet are going to be about here. Your knees are going to try to match that same angle. If your feet are out too far, your knees can't open up that far, or your knees are too far in, that's going to cause issues when you squat, and that's going to be the main contributor to forward movement on the squat. So when you see an off-centered balance squat, it is usually from the knee, almost always from the knee or foot angle. Steve, as a beginner looking to build a balanced physique, you come to the right place, my friend, because I teach getting everything from head to toe as big and as strong as humanly possible. Is a full body, you don't want to do just compounds, because as you get stronger, it's going to beat you up. It's going to take a lot of time. You absolutely want to do direct arm work. Abs, calves, don't care. Calves, it depends on if you have small calves. But you absolutely have to do more. You should do more than compounds, and you should do direct arm work. You want to bring multiple tools to the party, because compounds are great, but it's not like more is better. Compounds are great, but surrounding them by good complementary lifts, dumbbells, machines, cables, body weights, that's better. So you take one big showpiece, right, that compound, and you surround them with a good selection of complementary exercises. That's best. Big Craig Ford, pulled my groin during squats. Is that caused by bulging knees? Seems like it's random, man. It's 99% of the time it's random. Not maybe 99, but you're going to pick up strains and pains. That's lifting. It doesn't necessarily mean anything is wrong. Getting beat up doing hard work, it happens. So don't panic, but also have somebody look at your squat form. I can't say if your squat form caused it, because I haven't looked, but join teammassiveiron.com or send me a form video. I'd be happy to look. In your opinion, if you perform both varieties safely, is the behind the neck press better? If you want my opinion, and you can do both, I like seated. Seated are going to provide you with more stability. This doesn't mean standing are bad. so we're not talking about a big difference. Seated provide you more stability, and you tend to be stronger in seated overheads. So if we could do both, I might suggest doing a front seated press, like a pin press, and a BTN, both every other week. That would probably be best. Jason, thanks for your kettlebell trick weeks ago, and I can say I have a bum coming in. You bet. Stand Strength is in the house. Thoughts on adaptive resistance? The more you do an exercise, the less beneficial. Seems like something that takes place in months. You adapt to a movement pattern, and then initially when you start a new movement, you adapt from a central nervous system standpoint, more efficient. You adapt from a technique standpoint, you become more efficient. I firmly believe that initial period, you're not getting much out of the lift because you're adapting from a form standpoint, a confidence standpoint, a central nervous system standpoint. And I believe by constantly changing exercises, I believe it to be counterproductive. That's my opinion. I believe that once you adapt the central nervous system and the form and the confidence, then you can start running with performance. So I'm a big picture guy. I don't believe you get less out of an exercise. I don't believe that, like if you do bench press, that it's a case of you're getting less out of the exercise. I believe it's just it's a compound lift is going to be harder to get plus ones out of, because a plus one is really adding 5, 6, 7 pounds to your max. It's going to become extremely rare. So the question becomes, can we introduce new forms of challenges that can maybe drive, that can work together to provide some new ways of stimulating or challenging a muscle that we haven't done before? And that's where the value of assistance work comes in. And this is why we should be using variety on muscle building, because you can get to a point where those lifts are just hitting those certain areas, right? This is very micro nuanced. But when you add a new lift variation, you add a potential that it's going to strengthen you in a new way that even though it's kind of the same movement pattern, like you can do squats and you can do leg press, and you can be cruising and rocking. You can add in hack squats and all of a sudden you're soaring a different way, right? But it's the same movement pattern, is it? The body is so super specific in how it adapts, it's very, like, all these little lifts are so nuanced. The body's going to really dial in and adapt to that movement pattern. How it was challenged is how it's going to adapt on a very minor level. So in powerlifting, when we kind of stagnate, introducing new, slightly different variables are going to challenge us in new and slightly different ways and bring with it the possibility that we're going to strengthen the body in a way that hasn't been strengthened before and maybe float the boat a little bit higher. Does that make sense? That's my opinion. So in hypertrophy, it's kind of the same thing. If you just do 2 movement patterns, right? If you add a third or maybe a fourth for quads, you're going to have a potential to float the boat a little bit higher because you're hitting it in different ways with intense exercises that stimulate. That's my opinion. And I don't like to be dogmatic. I'm open to other opinions and interpretations of what I said, but I believe all of us can agree that a little bit more variation is rarely going to be a bad thing. But if we add too much variation at one time, it's just going to convolute things. It's going to be overcrowded. We're going to try to do too much, and it's going to take away from, too little, probably not good. Too much takes away the focus of each one. but there's kind of a good balancing point. Do you count shruggies as back work? No, I don't. I consider them like bonus round. Some people don't like to do shrugs. I want to get the meat and potatoes in first before I add shrugs in. Yeah, the massive mass upper posterior only got 8 sets on back, but got shrugs twice a week. Sometimes when you're programming, it really depends on, hey, I got more exercise slots I can fit shrugs in. So some of it's basically a function of the actual program itself and the opportunities the program presents, if that makes sense. Fat chick in a barn. Suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah, I finally had to make any progress. Now I'm trying to get over it. I have 20 pounds left, but really probably more. Just attack it 10 pounds at a time. I like getting to those nines, like, when I was cutting 279, 269, 259. Sam, is 8 pounds of water loss on 5 weeks solid, or can you lose quicker? Is 8 pounds of weight loss? I read water, sorry. 5 weeks. Yeah, it's fairly solid. You could lose quicker, and you're not going to. We need to stop worrying about performance and testosterone and all these things in the short run. Focus on the goal. Like, it's not like if your test levels dip like 10% on a cut, it's not going to impact anything, right? It's a micro change. Performance, we have to focus on what we can control, right? If you're going to lose 20 pounds, whether you lose it in 5 weeks or 20 weeks, you're probably going to see the same performance dip. But we want to get a cut over quicker. How long to microwave Iggy cups? Iggy cups are one of my recipes. And I recall just like hitting them for, well, what I would do, soy sauces, you have to put them in the freezer so they don't go bad. But when I would get home from work, when I was making them, I would pull tomorrows out of the freezer and put it in the fridge. And then when I would take it to work, I'd really only have to microwave it for like 30, 45 a minute. Hey, Steve, worked my way up from 185 by 5. Well done. That's a big increase. What weight rep range do you suggest for the next steps? I'm going to be honest with you, Mike. That's super big. That's super impressive. It's going to be harder to replicate, meaning it would take longer. Can you get to 225 for 3 sets of 10? Yeah, man, that would be a next big goal for you. So I would set a next big goal for you of 225 for 3 by 10. That's kind of, I hate to say God tier, but that's super impressive. Not many guys get 225 by 3 by 10. In progression, if you start low rep, it's harder to add reps, but if you like it, man, go for it. I would maybe go up to, here's what I would do the next 2 weeks. Go in, do 195 and do 3 sets of max safe reps. How many ever you can get safely. And then do 205 and do 3 sets of max safe reps. Whatever you can hit for all 6s. Let's say you hit 195 for 11, 9, 7. Okay, you hit at least all 6s on 195. Let's say on 205, you hit 9, 7, 5. You didn't hit all 6s. Whatever you can hit on all 6s, then start doing 666, 777. Try to work up however you did to get up to that weight up to 3 sets of 10. And then I would re-rack and work back to 225. We're trying to work up to 225. Do you think low bar squats for muscle building are acceptable? No, long legs, you're probably going to fold like a lawn chair. People fold like a lawn chair with low bar to begin with. The problem with low bar is we tend to go wide stance and it tends to be less quad focused. That doesn't mean it can't be a good tool in our quad training mix. I would have to see the squat though, because building a squat on paper is far different from seeing it in person. So I would try it, send a video to me. I'll take a look. Sandro, have you used melatonin for sleep aids? Sandro is staring into my cupboard. I've used it on and off. I actually just bought it again this week. It's in my cupboard. I took it for the first time again like 3 days ago. Where are we? Best pre-workout meal suggestions. Taters and coffee. Well, I like to have a little bit of protein. So protein shake in the mix or something. Maybe a little bit of diced ham in there, a little bit of fats and proteins, maybe a little bacon and taters. Now we're talking. Yeah, but that's fine, man. Whatever works for you, as long as your macros and your calories and everything works out over the course of a day. Tomas, is there a specific body fat percentage you gain most muscle? No. A lot of this is just witchcraft, wizardry, nonsense, stuff that sounds great on YouTube. No. It's all about the hard training, man. It's all about the hard training and consistency and consistent. Anybody that says about a specific rep range, they're way out in left field. They're like micro-nuancing themselves into a corner. My hammies and glutes are very dominant, okay? Is it worth pre-exhausting quads? You can do it, but at the end of the day, my quads are much stronger than anything else. So when I do squats, my hamstrings tend to get sore. And my glutes tend to not to get worked much at all. So the fact that your hamstring and glutes are very dominant means that when you squat, the quads are probably going to hit the hardest. Does that make sense? So I wouldn't say there's any urgent need to pre-fatigue them. You certainly could. But if you pre-fatigue a weakened muscle, and I'm just thinking out loud here, a muscle that's already weaker in the chain, it's going to get stressed. It's going to get more stress. So I don't see any upside or downside to it. I think the big picture, whatever works best for you with the other movements, is more important, if that makes sense. I have to be very low calories to maintain 15%. Probably Trying to get my near potential in the next few years. Is it better to cut? You want to cut to a range you can easily get to, Paul. So if you can easily get to 16, 17, 18, and then go up and down 10, that would be good. So you want to cut to a lower level that's easier for you to get to. Like, you don't want it to be like a tremendous struggle. Any tips on better time management? I really want to get the plan. Put together a spreadsheet, a Word doc, something. Plan when you're going to do things. Plan when you're going to take a shower. Plan when you're going to go to bed. Plan when you're going to get up. That's my best advice. Plan. If you don't have a plan, you don't have anything to stick to. Do you recommend creatine loading? Not generally. I mean, if you're going to use creatine, just use it and stick with it. You can try loading. I used to load. There's no downside in loading. If you have the extra $2-3, go ahead. What are some back width exercise? Rows, and rows. But pendley rows are going to be easier on the lower back than barbell rows. Pendley rows, if you have trouble getting your hips below your shoulders, you might want to pull off a little bit of a block. Dumbbell rows and pendley rows can stress the lower back a little bit, as can T-bars. All of them can really stress the lower back. So you really want to find a combination of good quality row exercises that have a good progression opportunity that treats your lower back okay. Big Sam. I've tried T-bars, but I do not feel like I get a lot of range of motion. That's okay. However, I find my lower back is taxed because I love deadlifting for high volume. Any alternatives? Chest supported rows, machine T-bars. They have chest supported T-bar machines. I would, if you have a chest supported T-bar in your gym, that would be the best choice. Is there any vertical pull movement I can do with dumbbells? If you can hang upside down like a bat, not really. You can do like a dumbbell, kind of mimic a lat prayer with a dumbbell, like a dumbbell pullover, but really, really lat focused. That would be about it. How can a sticking point Jedi gain weight? Man, I got some right now. I got a guy struggling to get 5,000 calories and he's not gaining weight. You got to get some dirty foods in. You got to understand that once you get around 3,000 calories from clean foods, you're probably getting in a lot of nutrients, quality micronutrients. So you're probably going to have to go a little dirty. You have to be a little dirty girl. Right? Humor, folks. Might have to do little ice creams, little Doritos. Is there any value in doing T-bar rows with a more upright torso? You want to be at a level that's good on your lower back, but too high in your. I see some of these professional bodybuilders doing T-bar rows with like 2-inch range of motion. Like, I'm not a fan of that. Is there any value in doing T-bars with a more upright torso? I'm just not a fan of it, man. I'm just not. Arnold's biceps or chest. Ooh, wow, that's hard. Arnold had that big chest, but you know what? I don't know, man. Arnold's upper body and Tom Platz's lower body. How about that? What are the top 3 destinations you would recommend? Spend 2 weeks traveling Scotland. Spend 2 weeks traveling the West, the United States. And I don't know. That'd be it for me right now. When will Mike Israel be back on your channel? I don't know. We'll wait for the sequel from that one. I've recently started doing full body 3 days a week, but the workouts are taking a long time. That's exactly the problem with full body. They can take a long time. What are main exercises you want to get in each session? What I would probably suggest is on a full body, you might want to just do 2 sets of the big compounds. That'll buy you a little bit of time to do extra exercises. So I'd rather see you getting in a quality variety of exercises, but only doing 2 sets for the big exercises. Does that make sense? That's where I'd probably start. What's your favorite high-end car brand? We're actually looking at cars right now because I got to trade in my car. Back when I sold cars, I got to drive a Lotus Esprit, and it was pretty cool, but I was a kid. I haven't seen one in a while, but I've always been kind of enamored with them a little bit. The BMW M4 Competition's got my eye right now. I've seen some reviews on that are brilliant. Just happen to have that too. Man, I don't know. I've looked at a lot of high-end cars, and my wife has a Genesis. I really like the Genesis. She has a G70, and I really think it's a good value. The G80, it looks sharp for more of a luxury car. It's not I think Mercedes look ugly. A lot of good Audi models, but they all kind of look the same. I don't know. Calories in seems to be easiest to track than calories out. We don't worry about calories out. We just calories in and scale. So you just do your exercise thing. Try to be consistent. Worry about calories in relative to the scale. Nicholas, Event Horizon was always a sleeper hit. Yeah, it's a sleeper hit. It's a solid movie. It's certainly not going to be a movie for everybody. I mean, space horror, really weird, but man, it's the people that like it, that get it, like it, right? Kind of one of those cult movies. I know we can't spot reduce. When I hit 200 pounds, extra fat always seems to go to my stomach. True. That's just men. Men tend to store internally, viscerally, stomach, and then man boobs, love handles, man boobs, lower back fat. That's just where men start to hit it. When you're at about 18%, you're not going to see man boob fat. You're not going to see lower belly fat. You're not going to see love handle fat. You're not going to see lower back fat. Then you're about at 18%. When you go above that range, that's when those areas start to fill out as men. I can only eat 1 to 2 meals per day. I can't eat red meat. How do I get in 3,000 calories? You're gonna have to rely on things that have fats, like if you can get in cheeses, avocados, nuts, protein sources that aren't necessarily super lean. But it's not hard to do. What I would list out is protein foods that you like. Even eggs are great. Things like sour cream that can add calories. So you're going to have, you're probably going to have to go a little bit higher end on the fat scale. Cheese, sour cream, nuts, things like that. Avocado. I'm not saying you have to overdo those, but that'll help weight it up a little bit in calories. You can also add like 1 or 2 ounces of heavy cream to a protein shake, and that'll bump the calories really, really quickly, and it'll taste good. I'm looking at your full body workouts. I noticed you have ramped listed after squats. Ramped. Send me which one you're looking at because I got so many. What exercise do you recommend to strengthen the lower back? Time. We are mostly all doing squats and deadlifts and RDLs. And if our lower back's getting beat up from them, we need to kind of give it time and not add in too much to overwork it. You could replace back extensions in for deadlifts for a while until you strengthen it enough. Last call for questions, guys. I've been spitting during my workouts. I've been splitting a lot of my workouts over 2 days. Towards the end of a cut, I just feel really spent. And even that's fine. It's sustainable if it's sustainable for you. Just make sure your warm-ups are acceptable. All right, guys, that's it. I appreciate you. Tune in to Massive Iron Live. Please head over to my Instagram. If you have any more questions, slide into my DM. Please check out my website. Don't go yet. My website's got tons of t-shirts, just a lot. I put together a lot of fun variations. You can find all kinds of workouts. The Massive Iron collection has like just nearly every workout I've ever put together. It's just a huge monster. If you need a custom workout, if you need coaching, please head over to teammassiveiron.com and join us. We'd love to have you. I appreciate you guys' support. I love doing this for a living, and I can't thank each and every one of you enough. And we're out of here.
It's not almost over. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.